Alrighty, after show time. I know, I felt like I should do that and stare at you guys while you were all dancing in your seats. Anna, you good? Are you back? Let me see. Whoop.
Yeah, I am. Look, isn't it much better?
Yeah, I think it's catching up or something. I don't know.
Oh, and then it went back.
No,
no,
wait. Ah.
Anna's just trolling everyone right now.
I don't understand this. I
Yeah.
stream in 1080p every single time we raid.
Yeah.
And it doesn't lag whatsoever.
it's
and
gonna
it
be
can't handle a freaking Skype call.
It's gonna be a Skype call thing. I mean, I'll check my system back end, but if I was lagging, the whole show would be lagging. So I don't know if there's something going on. Maybe you gotta update. Make sure you update it. You have the newest Skype, right?
I do, and
Yeah.
I can tell that it's going pixelated because my call quality is going yellow. But anyway, off the topic of
So
production
weird.
problems.
64-bit Anna, yay! We've upgraded in generations.
All right.
Exactly, 64-bit in it. I love you, Sinner. It's making me sad that you don't make videos anymore, man. I miss them. I miss them.
That's fun. So we had some questions first that we have in Skype here.
Here's the most important.
Oh, here we go. Let me go full screen on this bad boy. Here we go. Yep.
May or may
That
not be
is
a-
amazing.
Yeah, they're all different colored Mega Mans based on powers, right?
Yep.
Let me get rid of the lower third here real quick. Oh my goodness, it's amazing.
Go back a little
That's
bit.
what's been there. Yeah, there it is.
Yep. So it is a Mega Man made up of Mega Mans.
It's so awesome.
That is pretty epic. Now, is every little Mega Man also made up of even smaller
No,
Mega
they're
Man?
just individual.
No, that's still too much. I might use that as your, I don't know if I want to use that or get you to pose with Frostmourne again for your thumbnail.
No. The Frost, it's got to be the Frostmourne.
Has to be
The
Frostmourne. Yeah, we'll do those in a
Frostmourne.
minute. At the end of the after show, I get you guys to give me like a pose still for the thumbnail, but yeah. It was so fun to get like Riggs to do one. That was fun. He had to find his army hat and everything. It was great. You know, I love doing those. Mega Manception. So yeah, you want to grab a question? I'll grab a question. What are you gonna do?
We had some that came in to chat while
Yeah.
we were hanging out.
Correct.
Um,
Well, Nightbot is just a bot, but we have a whole bunch of blacklisted words or things to keep everything, you know, nice. But,
Apparently Tito is one.
yeah.
Found that
and
one out.
It'll also ban you if you try to post a link or if you post in all caps.
Yeah,
which is
if
bad
you-
because
if-
I'm always in all caps. But
If
I'm a
you
mod.
just ask, we have tons of awesome mini bosses, what we call our mods here. You can always ask to be permitted. So yeah, it's just to keep things nice and simple.
Yeah, because my guildmaster anyway, Sark, put in the whole Tito comment about shadow orbs when it was happening, and which completely made me forget. Which basically, there's a pet in the game right now where if you get like all of the rare boss pets, you can get a pet that randomly summons cows. Like they look like they're on like a tornado type thing.
No
you can
way.
actually get shadow orbs off those.
What? But
if you-
again, this
yeah,
goes.
if you go to my armory, my pet's name is PvE Balance is Hard, and that's the pet you want. But it's the only thing really, other than like an ogre pinata, that you can get shadow orbs outside of a raid or in a raid anyway.
That's so weird, though. But see, that goes back to the whole archetype of that being a stupid, like, thing with your problem, right? And it's not. It's the word isn't Tito. It's the first three letters of it that it is.
Oh, okay, that's understandable then.
Yeah. It's just that Nightbot has it scans for any of those iterations of the words. So, oh wow, do the Donkey Kong. Oh, I love this song. So.
Well, somebody
see,
posted a link to
Twintop,
the
exactly.
item.
You just
Here
got
we
hit
go.
out for yeah.
I'll post the link to the item since I can. I have the power.
Yeah. If you show up at the show long enough, our mini bosses are also supposed to be reg adding people they see very often, and if you become a regular in the chat, you will not get Nightbot moderated. That's like
Yeah,
if you're
they're-
here like multiple weeks in a row and everyone sees you and you're like, you know,
Be
polite
good
and fun.
internet troll.
Well,
If
no,
you recruit
they don't just get
10
banned.
friends- if you recruit 10 friends to the show, then maybe you won't get modded either. Just saying. We can go that direction.
I'm doing the Garen dance. It's only oh, the Garen dance. But yeah, so the question we had here, Rick Lord 772 asked, where is the major question if WoW is the game that is pushing for more of a hybrid damage healing? And then it would make more sense to bring less true healers and more hybrids. What I think I'm hearing here is a veiled Guild Wars 2 question.
Well, this is actually something that Black Margrim always proposes because he really likes his like full Shadow Priest raids.
Well,
it's potentially possible to actually progress using like Divine Star because it'll give you the best healing on almost every fight. It'll be very difficult. You'll probably wipe a ton more, but it's possible.
Basically, as long as you don't need a raid wall. If you need healing cooldowns, you've got VE. But if you need a % damage reduction, if it's all Shadow Priest, we don't have one. I mean, everybody could fade, I guess, but that's probably not going to save you.
Interesting.
Especially since, because I know like a big part of having reduction, we wanted to talk about it, but we lost time.
Yeah.
Was the Shadow Form nerf, which is huge. Like, it definitely made me really salty when that happened. To put it as nice as I can put it.
Yeah.
That is definitely not the best word that you could have chosen, but moving right along.
Yeah.
It definitely makes me really upset because in itself, it was a huge damage reduction for us, which this is going to be probably bad for the community, but it allows you to stay in things longer and edge out more DPS. So when you're on those progression kills and you're just farming or going for the ranks and stuff, even when you're on progression, like it allows so much more for you to be able to do. And they've really nerfed it. Especially there's something right now. I have yet to test it, but the other Shadow Priest in my guild is basically saying either Inner Fire Glyph or Shadow Form when the two armors are not stacking properly, because like Thok has the AoE that's all physical, and something somewhere in there is not working right. We're not getting the full reduction that we should be. So they definitely, since they nerfed our passive reduction, they definitely need to fix that, which I have posted a couple times on Twitter, but GC has yet to reply. So.
Yeah. That's all we had in... Oh, we had one more. Sorry.
Yeah, there was one about DI procs.
Yeah, from Big Fat Cow. Big Fat Cow's been here a while. I think I remember seeing his name a lot. So, let me switch off of XSplit. Screwed up. So yeah, what is yeah, GC replying. So yeah, what's the question, Anna?
What's the best way to use DI procs? The question is, do you clip Mindflay or Mindflay Insanity to use your DI procs?
Spam Mind Blast.
Spam Mind Blast. That's the solution.
Spam that button.
The thing to remember
More Mind
is
Blast?
that Mind Blast is your generator for the resource, and you want to clip Mindflay or Mindflay Insanity even, and the same goes for Shadow Word Death. It gets a little bit more complicated because of the changes to not being able to game the ICD on it, which we can talk about, but I don't want to muddy the waters. Is that if you clip right after a tick, you will still get the benefit of that tick with the least amount of wasted time, which is why it's important to have a good cast bar mod like Gnosis, or I use a simple one called cast bars, and I get, heretic burned at the cross. You don't use, it's like, it just need to see something that'll show you your latency, will show you where your ticks are, and if there's any tick latency, if you were going to cancel the cast to do something else. But if you have a DI proc, that is priority 1 alpha, because your Mind Blast
is that a code?
I worked for
like it.
On defense contractor for a while. It's military-ish, I guess. It's, if you have Mind Blast up, use it, because you need to generate more orbs, and the longer you leave it there, the longer it's going to be before you can get your next orb. Or if you have a DI proc up, you're not going to get any more from other Shadow Word Pain ticks until you spend it.
Okay, I see.
Yeah.
Well, I have another question for you guys that just came up in chat from Jada, and actually this is a question that's near and dear to my heart because I play a class that is quite focused around cooldowns and burst, and that is pretty much the opposite of how Shadow Priests seem to me. And Jada says, what is your take on Shadow Priest damage CDs, or lack thereof? Do you think that holds you back, especially on the pull? And would even a CD that gives you orbs be worth it?
Well, I'm gonna preface that real quick by saying that as Enhancement Shaman, we didn't have like any cooldowns for the longest time. Until Mop, we had like no cooldowns. We had like wolves. Outside of our inherent like buttons we press. But then the Mist of Pandaria hit, and now it's the World of Cooldowns for Enhanced Shaman. So
World of Cooldowns.
World of Cooldowns. No, it seriously is for us. So I wonder, it doesn't solve the problem. At least it didn't for me. It added an aspect of the game that was interesting, but like for me, I didn't really even. It was a little overwhelming at first because I have a macro that pops 3 at the same time, sometimes 4. Like, because they're just so there. So the thing about it for Shadow Priest, you have like a built-in cooldown with Shadow Orbs, but like, yeah, we talk about that a lot during the show. Is that you guys are kind of held back by this weird gated orb mechanic? So yeah,
it puts us in a unique position because we do have like that initial like 10-second burst where we spike up to like a million damage, but
yeah,
then we just shoot right back down. As fast as it goes up, it goes right back down. But then you really have to see, which really sucks for progression, because until you get to that like Shadow or Death 20% area, which is when you can use Shadow or Death and use our execute, which is we spike back up. But until you get to that, our DPS just kind of looks very mediocre if we're just talking about single target bosses in general. But like, it wouldn't, if we did add a CD to something, obviously we had PI that got you introduced when they changed it to work with Bloodlust. And for those who don't know, PI didn't used to normally work with Bloodlust. PI is a haste cooldown that increases our haste, and it didn't stack with Bloodlust or Heroism for a while until roughly, I think was it 5.3 or 5.2? One of those two. And once it did, they also added in a % damage increase on it. It was 10 in the PTR, but then got fixed to 5% because of PvP, which it wasn't a bad talent. Yeah, PvP holding PvE back. Why they can't change the two or just put them in their own separate category, like with, what is it, Colossal Smash, that has completely different thing from PvE to PvP, is beyond me. I don't know. I think it would make the game significantly easier for casuals and just raiders in general. But our whole rotation and spells are so compounded together that when you alter something, like add in a whole CD, you'd have to reduce something. Yeah. Or we'd be extremely overpowered.
Yeah.
So when you add in a CD, what are you going to take away? If you take away something else in our entire box of utensils is going to get messed up. Whether it's our single target, our multi-dot, something's going to get messed up. So adding a CD isn't necessarily the right way. I kind of like not having a CD right now. We do have Shadow Fiend, but it's all right. But we don't have like a % damage increase or a haste increase, anything like that. It would drastically change the class from what it currently is. Not that I'm against that, but
Shadow Fiend is basically use it on cooldown unless there's a compelling reason to save it for something that you know there is going to be burst for. Otherwise, it's a DPS loss.
Yeah.
It's like wolves work for you, I'm guessing. It's just use them.
Well, yeah, it's just use them. Unless the only time I've ever actually like planned around them is the Earthquake knockback dealie on Iron Juggernaut Heroic. And I would glyph them to do 40% more healing, and I usually time them to pop them after the second smash, because that's usually when we have like off-spec cooldowns for before the third to keep myself alive, because they heal for a pretty good amount. But I've never, you don't wait to cast them. They don't really do any damage anyway. They're just kind of there. They made them a little better in Mop, but they're kind of garbage. They're very
wolves?
flavorful. I don't have wolves anymore. Technically, they're raptors.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
All they do is take up room in melee, make it difficult to see things. That and your fire.
Sorry,
alley.
I'm very expressive and goofy.
Yeah, no, it's fine. We had someone that it was Putapin said that we were complaining about PvP affecting PvE, and we're not like complaining about it. It's the fact that usually sometimes PvP changes that have to happen because of the balance of that side of the game really impact something that worked just fine in PvE, and then like it doesn't work anymore. That's the issue we have as
that's
being
the spell.
Well, yeah,
Well,
massive spell.
There's a
Yeah.
line between how you talk about it. Like,
Exactly.
let's be honest, this game has PvE and PvP. Like, everybody knows it. They affect each other. Big surprise. I mean, of course our abilities are going to be affected by PvP, and of course PvPers are going to be irritated when PvE affects how their things work. And to say that that's not true, of course it's true. So, you know, there's of course we'll complain about it a little bit.
Yeah.
Maybe it's not a great idea to blame everything on it, but it's a thing. That's how WoW works.
It's a
If
thing.
we get nerfed
Yeah.
in the name of pep battles, I will then be very upset.
Yeah.
They're gonna nerf PvE balance is hard. No.
Here,
My
I got
pet.
another question. I got another question for you guys. You went into this a little bit on the show, but just another thing. Are you ever forced to him for your raid, and how do you feel about it when you are?
I don't want to grip. What things do you make one of him? Him is like a 6-second cooldown.
Oh my God, 6 seconds!
Or not 6 seconds, but 6-second channel.
Channel, yeah.
I did it on our Paragon's kill because there's a ton of healing
Yeah.
that needs to happen on that. Whether or not I wanted to, it gets you the kill, and that's what matters. Now, when progression happens, that's probably gonna be a little bit different.
Yeah.
But
kinda
if
like
you
how,
are getting going for a progression kill and you need to use it, that's pretty much
Yeah,
it.
it's another utility. There's, you know, you're worried about your personal damage, but you also need to be mindful of the raid in general.
Yep.
And you doing another, I don't know, let's be generous, million damage, or 2 million damage during the time that you could be channeling it, when that mana could go to keeping other people alive for longer, to end up doing, which could be the difference between a wipe or not.
Yeah, I feel that way about when I have to bubble and do something that doesn't involve being in melee range of the boss, which isn't
Yeah.
that common, but like, it happens. Sometimes you have to do it. Sometimes I have to bubble and clear orbs on Malkorok. Sometimes I know on PTR for the Klaxi thing, I had to go up and do the strong legs. We're not there on Heroic yet, so I don't
Yeah.
know what it's going to be like on Heroic, but I just, whenever you spend X seconds not DPSing the boss or completely unable to DPS, it is irritating, so I understand.
I think
It would be.
Oh,
Sorry, go ahead.
no, you go ahead.
Sorry. It would
Slowly
be-
getting darker in your room. It's funny, by the way.
Yeah, sorry, I probably don't have the sun's dissipating. But if it didn't take us out of shadow form, it'd probably be less of a pain. But it takes us out of shadow form, so you also have to use the GCD to get back into it after casting it. So, I mean,
Yeah, that is kind of annoying.
the fact that they took away the healing him for us, but like I personally think they should take away the mana him, or at least allow us to cast it in shadow form or some
Yeah.
variation of it that's shadowy.
I mean, they've already taken basically every other holy spell and made it so that we can cast it in shadow form. The only ones that are left are what? Flash heal?
Mm-hmm.
You can still palm. You could life grip. It's
Just a quality of life thing.
Exactly.
You're already doing something that's utility for the raid that doesn't involve damaging the boss. You might as well be able to do it in shadow form. I think that makes sense.
Oh, sorry about that. I was trying to answer the Pandora question, and I did my little Pandora thing, and it did the whole Pandora blurb. What the heck? Oh, I'm sorry. But I was gonna say about the so that's spam though. So I'm thinking about stuff, I guess, for when you don't have direct influence on the boss, via like you're not damaging him or whatever else. I know as like a DPS, you always like want to tunnel or whatever. You want to do your damnedest, and that's good. That drive, that focus, that commitment, that responsibility to like do your best to carry out your numbers to kill the boss is great. You gotta remember though that raiding is a team game, and not every person is a beautiful snowflake. And then that B, there are other parts of the fight that have to be done to achieve victory. So if you are those people, honestly, that have to do the side jobs, or if you're on Heroic Garrosh, you have to kite the iron stars around and not die and not run through the raid or whatever else have you, or if you're going up on the side and in phase 1 you're killing the engineers or whatever have you, if you're going tower groups in Galacrasses, for examples, those are almost
feathers.
Those are almost more important than like the regular part of the fight, because you are then chosen by your guild to achieve these outside goals during the encounter, right? So I always thought that was like that's a challenge to me, that if I can get good damage on the boss and do the side jobs, then I'm doing double the work, and it's paying off in that regard. Like Malkarok, ranged, you just basically nuke the boss and soak the little orbs now and then in heroic, but to make sure you soak those giant miasma puddles or you wipe the raid. That's a huge responsibility curve, and if you can do both, that's even better. So I think that comes down to when you're hemming, that has to be something that you do because it helps the entire raid be better for just your one cooldown. Now, I think the background of that is that I wonder when you're channeling either of those, if you get some buff to your next shadow ability or some crap, like your next Mind Blast. And that's why you can get your Mind Blast damage back, Drye. If you channel a full Hymn of Hope, or
Mind Blast does 300%
my Hammond was
damage.
300% more damage!
See, the issue with that then is that Shadow Priest will, or players in general, will become very selfish. And
yeah, they
want
to
to
true
use
too.
exactly the right
We'll
one.
use that on the pro.
Screw
Yeah,
everybody else.
like this is for optimal. You're gonna mess with my optimal DPS by telling me to use that, divine hymn at the wrong time. No, of course that's what people would say.
But that is exactly why the development of this game and the balance is so fine line. Because of that instance right there. I perceive a good idea, and then immediately you guys find ways to game it.
Well,
and that's how the game works.
It's very funny because there's threads that have gone. Okay, I browse MMO Champion with 40 posts per page. Okay, just so it's just like
God bless you, sir.
Okay, there is a thread on the priest part of MMO that has like 35 pages. And people in there, it was like the Shadow Word Revolution thread, I think it was, where it was, oh, we're upset.
7 pages at this current point, by the way.
Yeah, it's very, very long-lived. But people are tossing out ideas for, well, our single target's bad. Why don't they just buff Mind Flay? And
yeah,
it's a thought process and a thought game of, okay, you make one change to a system, how does it cascade through? And like for this one with Mind Flay, you buff Mind Flay, you're inadvertently buffing Mind Flay Insanity damage. So either you have to reduce the effectiveness of Mind Flay Insanity, or buff Mindbender and buff Vampiric Touch, or From Darkness Comes Light. It's like, okay, so if I buff one of those, then do I buff the proc component of From Darkness Comes Light, or do I buff the base amount of Mind Spike? And then is it more effective to just spam Mind Spike on secondary targets and not keep dots up to regen mana than just using Mind Flay? Like it snowballs. It's because of all this that I am anticipating a major Shadow rework in 6.0.
Yeah, we prefaced that was early on in the show about how I talked about this in the pre-show before, with it wasn't recorded, so I'll put it in the after show. Is that there were so many things that they've tested out in Mists of Pandaria. All 3 raids are all very different structurally. We had the gating of the 3 instances first off. There was 3 separate instances that had different progression paths for heroic, basically, sort of outside of like Empress and then going to Shah, right? Second instance was completely linear, straight on through, but with the heroic button or toggle, you can skip bosses, right? But obviously the top kills just went straight on through. And now the third instance is sort of a mixture of both of those archetypes, where it's linear until you get to the split wing, where you can do a little bit of different linearity there. And technically you can skip Iron Juggernaut, it's weird. You can just leave and get through the door somehow. No, you can skip Shaman, sorry, you skip Shamans. But then they put basically 3 to 4 instances in one dungeon, where it's like the geography literally changes throughout that. So they've learned from the first one and the second one, and they put it all in the third one. And there's still problems with that. So the same thing happened with classes, where they did so many little different iterations, and they buffed this and nerfed that and gave them this and took this away and set bonuses, and they tested things out. So 6.0 is going to be a pretty huge game, not to mention the item squish, and it's going back on track of their main story, right? Because Mists of Pandaria was a filler expansion. So it was a huge beta test. I think we all participated in it for the last year, or going on to be last year.
Filler onward. Let's go. See a filler.
Yeah. On delay. So it's pretty incredible, though, talking to every class, because Lancel talked about it with Warriors, Spark and Sheena talked about it with Warlocks. The tank changes that are come to this expansion are so different where they have them before. So it's going to be pretty ridiculous to see what 6.0 brings us. But you had some questions.
Sorry, I really hope that they just go back to the whole kata system. Shadow was just, it's at its peak in kata. It was so strong. its utility was not overpowered, but it was still useful. If they had it right with Cat of Shadow, and I don't know, I really just hope it goes back to being that way. Like, I miss Archangel. I think it was Archangel used to be a 90-second cooldown that increased, it was our single target damage abilities by a percent depending on what our evangelism stack was at, and evangelism was a buff that whenever we mind flayed, we got a stack and it would increase our spell power, or not spell power, but our spell damage. So, like, and then once you used Archangel, it would use up those, and it was an overall better working machine, to put it as Twintop would say it. Kata was the best working machine that Shadow has ever seen. And then they wiped it clean and made this pile of whatever they have now that is very broken, doesn't work, and it doesn't feel smooth. When you're playing the class in Kata, it was just like, it was very smooth, very well-rounded, and now it's just like, oh, well, let's just spam the crap out of this button and hope it works, is basically where we're at.
Empowered Shadows was really annoying because it was unpredictable in some ways, to be able to keep it up. But if you remember back to the MOP beta, they didn't know what they wanted to do with shadowy apparitions and with shadow orbs. They had no clue. There was one build where when you had orbs, you would hit a button that would spawn all your shadowy apparitions and send them off toward your targets at once. And it was just broken because there were ways of gaming it so you could just do one orb devouring play, or get one orb every time and then send out masses of shadowy apparitions at your targets, and they just hit too hard. It was clunky. It was worse than what we have here. I'm glad they didn't.
Oh, that word clunky. Oh, that word.
Yeah.
You used it.
I used that word.
You used the C word.
I did.
The C word.
I'm sorry, but it's true.
Yeah. I think we had a question to answer before we get another question from the Q&A part here. For next week's episode, for those of you that are tuning in for just the after show, on the main episode 11 that goes up on YouTube, on the VOD, in the comment section, comment on that episode if you want a Windwalker episode or a Mistweaver episode. One vote. Say Mistweavers, please, or Windwalkers, please, for next week's episode. And by Tuesday night-ish, we'll tally the votes on the comments on who, which is more voted for, and that'll be what show it's on next Sunday. That's what's happening next Sunday. So I don't give you the actual guests until we make sure we figure out which show we're gonna do. So, and then the show.
We will remember Rogue and Resto Druid. Don't worry.
Oh yeah, we're getting to all of them, but I mean, again, there are many classes and many specs, and only so much time. And we also have special episodes that we've done, like the Guild Leadership episode, which isn't a class one, or the World First Race one, which is not a class one. We have one coming up here. Let me grab the date. So the next week's the 20th, which is Windwalker or Mistweaver, and then the 27th is a very fun episode that will not be this kind of episode like we did today, which I can't talk about yet. We'll premiere that one next Sunday. You guys will hear about it, and so will the people involved. And then on the 3rd, since it's the week of BlizzCon, we're having a kind of like a community episode we're trying to put together, just to talk about BlizzCon and preparation and stuff like that, and just have like a fun episode. There's no episode on the 10th because I'm at BlizzCon. Like, I will be gone. I will be uploading a documentary behind the scenes, me walking around talking to people kind of like video that I'll be shooting myself and editing. And then the 17th will be our BlizzCon wrap-up video. So that's like the next month of Final Boss. A little over that. So just so you guys know. And now it's out there on the after show, so YouTube will have it too. But yeah. And if you're going to be at BlizzCon, we're going to have swag, wristbands and buttons. Yeah.
It's going to be great.
Yeah.
BlizzCon's going to be awesome. Everybody who watches the show, I want you to find me and Bae and say hi at BlizzCon. It's going to be so much fun. I can look forward to meeting everyone.
Hopefully you look at what Anna looks like in regular episodes, because right now I don't know if you'll be able to find 8-bit Anna.
8-bit Anna. 8-bit Anna.
Like
8-bit Anna. Yeah. So, yep. Okay, you had a bunch of questions you put up, Anna? You can go a couple of them real quick, rapid fire.
Well, let's see. We've got a question from Elumina, and she says, what's your opinion on Mind Spike? Did you like it in Dragon Soul, where your 4-set could change, she thinks, could change your rotation entirely?
It was different. As a set bonus, it was very different because what it did is whenever you had shadow orbs, you were able to do an insane amount more damage with your hard-hitting abilities, like what was it? Mind Blast, and you spiked very hard. Let me see if I can find it while I'm talking.
Sure.
But it changed up the entire rotation because you would use Shadow Fiend, you would then Mind Spike, Mind Blast, and then Mind Spike, Mind Blast, and Mastery would scale with it, and you just did tons of damage. So what it did, technically, is it had every 2 to 3 minutes, because that's when Shadow Fiend the CD got reset with Mind Flay. Every 2 to 3 minutes your rotation would completely change for the next 12 seconds, which allowed us to do actual damage on Spine, which was really nice, but I didn't think they intended it on completely changing it on every fight. I think it was just implemented for Spine when the tendons got vulnerable, because that's all we really could do with that. And now I'm not sure I would like it as much with the current tier of the way Shadow is, but I did like it as a set bonus. I thought it was unique, but I'm not sure if it should be that way anymore.
Weird.
Mind Spike is a misunderstood spell by a lot of the community.
Oh, misunderstood.
It's a poor misunderstood. Basically, Blizzard added it because they wanted Shadow to have something that was a nuke that wasn't on cooldown, but that they wouldn't turn to as their default nuke. So, Mind Spike, if it hits a target that has your dots on it, dots are gone. That's the trade-off. And as Drye was getting at with our tier 13 bonuses, with Shadow Fiend giving us the orbs that powered the whole thing, it did more damage wiping the dots off than leaving them on there. So it was fine. But now the only times that you're really going to use it are when you need to kill something quick. Like a good example, Banner on Nazgrim. If you take, on like Heroic Nazgrim especially, you take Glyph of Mind Spike and use Mind Spike to chunk down the banners, you'll get the advantage of having an instant cast Mind Blast next. Unless you get that weird behavior with Divine Insight. It's those sorts of things that it's really meant for. Anything longer than that, you should probably do your dots, throw your dots on it, and then do more of a normal rotation. Or, like on Raw Den, bank Shadow Orbs so you can do a bunch of bursts. Or have From Darkness Comes Light and have it beat instant cast and do more damage. They're trying to make it attractive, but personally, I don't like it because it is so limiting. But I can see why it is so limiting.
We had Intrin SC Rift or Intrin C Rift. I'm killing your Skype name right now. I'm sorry. Asked on Twitter, when is the real rogue or mage DPS episode coming? Just to clear the air again, we have the next month-ish planned out already, and there's no rogue or mage DPS just yet. But again, we're gonna get to every spec and class that we can. Obviously, we only do one show a week, and it always comes down to the people we get on the show want to be community-oriented and want to actually be comfortable in front of the camera. So it's coming. Just keep, if you're up to date with us on Twitter and Facebook, then you'll know what's happening. And if you're here on the live shows, then you'll know what's happening too. So. It's just hard to get. There's 38 specs in the game or something like that right now?
34.
34. So that's...
No. 34.
Yeah, so that's a lot of episodes already. We're only episode 11. And 0 didn't count. And we've had 2 that are not based on classes, so... In due time. Coming this summer. Yeah. Yep. So... Anything else that came up crazy? My Pandora station that I have on right now that I do for the after show is just called Video Games. It's not really fine-tuned. It's all over the place.
I use the site that has a Flash player that does video game music. It's vip.airja.net. I'll link it into the Twitch chat. It's got so much good stuff.
Yeah, like this thing is with like it's got tons of different stuff: Mega Man, Super Mario, Final Fantasy, Chrono Trigger. Yeah, it's got a whole bunch of stuff in it. So I have a Nightbot command on my own personal channel that I can share you my playlist, but I don't have it here, so it's all over the place. I only put music on for the after show to delineate the main show itself and the after show. The after show is not, you know, it's not scripted at all. It's not like we don't have a roadmap for the show. It's just kind of with you guys. We have a couple more minutes though before I let these guys get out of here. You guys raid in how long?
Roughly an hour.
Roughly an hour.
Yeah. Okay. Yep.
That's what I figured because we're getting close to 7. I got a question for our boys. I'd like to know, is there anything that you think that we've missed that you'd like to address, you know, for all the Shadow Priests who are going to be, who are watching now or who will be watching the video in the future? You know, we've gone through a bunch of topics, but if there's anything that you'd like to bring up, now's the time.
In general, keep an open mind. Like, things change. Everybody kind of gets used to what's going on for the current raid tier, and you know, oh haste, oh no, now we need to go crit. Like, things are not always cut and dry, and changes occur that may not be evident in the effects right away. So just remember that just because this is the way that something was done last patch does not necessarily mean that this is the way that things are done this patch.
Gotcha.
I would just say, I agree, you keep an open mind. We understand that a lot is changing right now, and that everyone's gonna want a simple, easy answer. It's not that way anymore right now, and people just need to learn how to cope with it. Unfortunately, there's no real nice way to put it. That just cope with it.
And I feel like to also think critically about what people are doing. I mean, especially with the example that we've had on the show where y'all found bugs in SimCraft and you've had to fix them. And now there's so many different ways that things are changing. That's just a lesson to everybody that no matter how much hard work the Shadow Priest community does and how much hard work y'all do, that people need to think about what they're reading and why they're doing what they're doing.
You know, that rolls into another big point that we find ourselves repeating time and time again when we respond to various forum posts for people asking for help or not understanding why something is presented in the way that it is that a lot of the things that we write in our guides or our lists or advice that we give is we're leveraging tools. And you can use tools properly or you can use them improperly. You know, you can use a hammer to drive in a screw, but you're probably going to have a bad time.
Yeah, I think
you know,
that.
It's and when all you know is I have a hammer, everything looks like a nail. To use that old classic comparison. So critical thinking is not necessarily optional. You need to understand the limitations of the tools that are there and best practices on how to actually use them to your advantage.
Yep.
Yeah. Oh my goodness. Yeah, there's a lot out there. And I think Spark talked about it, or Spark talked about way back in the day on his episode that he is very feel warlock and Sheena is very math warlock, but they both are so good at the game. So it really, depending on which left, right brain you are, is how you can tackle the game. But don't ever just think one way about the class for the whole time, because it's always going to be changing. Because this game is imperfect balance, right? Which is a League of Legends term, or that was coined in these kind of games. It really comes around in MOBAs, where they buff and nerf things and items and stuff every patch, because they have to keep the game interesting. If everyone was the same, everyone did the same damage, everyone had the same utility, everyone did the same stuff, then it'd be boring as hell. So it comes down to a game of imperfect imbalance, which is it has to change, and it's ever evolving and growing and stuff like that. And we're going to see probably the biggest change to this game in 6.0 that we've ever seen before, because like the talents were a big deal and the kind of glyph change was sort of a big deal, but I think what they've learned in MOP with the new systems going into 6.0 is going to be pretty big I'm expecting some big reveals at BlizzCon this year. I'm not gonna say Path of the Titans, but Path of the Titans. I mean, we all.
Come on now.
What?
The dance studio,
Dance
new
studio.
models.
Oh my God!
New models.
The dance studio. Where did you go?
You know, I think you bring
Yeah.
up a good point. Talking back to the Warlock show, it's
Yeah.
going mathy can get you 85-90% of the way there. Going
Yeah.
feel can get you 85-90% of the way there, but they're not the same 85 or 90%. You really need to use both.
Yeah. Yep. And the only thing, no, there'll be no Final Boss stream from BlizzCon because it's not going to be happening. But I will be uploading a video to the Final Boss YouTube, maybe 2 or 3, I don't know. Depends on the time. I'm taking camera equipment to BlizzCon. I'm going to do like just shooting stuff and maybe like talking to people or bumping into like awesome folks and just seeing things. I'm going to kind of edit out like a little like montagey sort of like fly through video that I'm planning on putting up on the YouTube page. So there's still something coming from us on the Sunday, but it's not going to be a show because I'm actually going to be in California. And yeah, I don't actually get back home until the Tuesday after everything's over. So,
But let it be known that doesn't mean it's going to be less cool because it's going to be awesome. We are going to have so much amazing BlizzCon content. We're going to be hanging out with all of the raiders that we've had on, or all of the raiders that we've had on the show that are going to BlizzCon, and bunches of people who you'll probably see on the show in the future. So really exciting.
Yeah, and then we're going to have a whole bunch of crap to give away when we get back too. There's a little bit of a budget that I have for just buying stuff for BlizzCon outside of you seeing us there and meeting us and getting like a wristband or a button. We're gonna have some cool things to bring back that I'm gonna bring an extra suitcase for to bring home to do giveaways and stuff because a lot of people can't go obviously because it's kind of like a close and shut event within like 70 seconds this year or something ridiculous. But yeah, we're gonna do as much as we can to give you as much feedback from BlizzCon. I'm actually going to be. Can I officially announce this yet to you 200 people? I think we can. I think we're good to go on this. So, to also coincide with our BlizzCon coverage that we're working on, if you guys are familiar with Nobble the Noble on YouTube, he's one of our liked channels on our YouTube page. It's Nobbel, the Noble, Noble. Nobble the Noble does awesome lore video coverage for World of Warcraft. Like he does Q&As and he does lore videos that are all about the deep inner recesses of WoW lore and knowledge or whatever. So I'm actually working together with Nobble a little bit to give him like up-to-date, like almost live stuff. I'm going to be taking pictures and video for him and then Dropboxing it to him the night after each BlizzCon, and he's going to make videos, and his videos are going to have my footage in it. So he's going to be kind of covering that side, and then I'm going to be giving him the information because he's way across the sea, right? He's across the pond. He can't make it. So we're kind of working together like with Nobble to kind of have a different side of it. We wanted to do lore shows with him and Jesse Cox, but he's too busy and Jesse Cox is too busy to like commit the time. So I'm at least getting a connection and working with cooperation with Nobble here to bring that stuff to you guys. So he'll be able to do that and funnel that in the way. And we're still working on doing shows in the future, but it won't be until 2014. But yeah, I ever since I saw Nobble stuff, we've been like Facebook BFFs to some degree, and now we talk on Skype a bunch about everything. And we planned a bunch of stuff for BlizzCon, so just to broaden our scope of what we guys give you for content. So yeah, I love Nobble. He's a cool guy, and it looks like the chat room knows who he is too. And if you don't know who he is, go on YouTube. I think it's just Nobble the Noble. Or it's Nobble87, I think, on YouTube. Yeah.
Get out of the cave and go to YouTube and start watching some wild videos.
Cave.
You'll figure it out.
And there's 10 episodes that you haven't seen the Final Boss if you're new, and the after shows. So I mean, there you go. But I think if we're good to go, I'll let you guys go here. Again, I will note if you are sitting here again on the VOD of episode 11 on YouTube, go comment Mistweaver monks or Windwalker monks, and that's our next episode. It's a beta test of how we're gonna do this to get you guys interacting on the YouTube video so you can get feedback to us directly because we're going to watch all of those. So this is a good song to go out on. Again, Mr. Twintop, want to get your sword for me? Give me a thumbnail real quick, sir?
Sure. How do you want me to...
I don't know. Don't lick it. That would be awkward. Just give me... And I'll cut that out for the... there you go.
Or should I have Mega Man in this hand?
No, that's okay. Just the sword. Yep. That should be good, sir. I'll use that for your thumbnail. Thank you very much for being here. It was a pleasure.
Thanks for having me.
Drye, you're in like a dark recess right now.
Yeah, I don't. The webcam is
right now.
kitty corner. Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm permanently shadow form.
Permanently shadow. I like it.
My webcam is kitty corner to my light, and it's being blocked by like a speaker, so it looks much darker than it actually is on the
Yeah.
room.
But thank you very much for being here, sir. It was a pleasure.
Appreciate it.
Thank you very much for the invite. It was great talking with you guys.
Anna, 8-bit
And-
Anna.
8-bit Anna, once more. Well, you'll have to get a screenshot from the part of the show when I
Yes,
was
I
actually
will.
like not streaming from the moon. And,
I'm getting-
Sean said. Yeah.
No, you're just direct from
I'm actually
Azeroth
playing
right now.
Across the galaxy.
You're just direct from Azeroth right now. And
Oh yeah,
gri-
direct from Azeroth.
the griffins are carrying your packets, and we know how flight paths in WoW work.
Yeah, exactly.
Go around your ass to get to your elbow. So, yep.
Mm-hmm.
Look at 480,
Yeah, maybe-
360, 420, 144, Minecraft, and then Anna settings. Wow, that's terrible. You guys are fun.
I'm gonna go over to Time Warner headquarters soon. So.
And then there's me. So you guys have a great one. I'll use that as my thumbnail, I guess, because I'm sitting like this right now. But again, we'll see you guys here next Sunday, 4 p.m. Eastern, 1 PST, and 10 CET for either Mistweavers or Windwalkers, depending on your guys' comments on the YouTube video.
Make sure you comment.
Yep, you guys are awesome. Have a great... I'm not 4K. I'm only 720 on the show. Maybe 4K in the future, I'll pull a Swifty.
Mm-hmm.
Don't get me started. You guys have a great night. Again, have a... Look, Shadow Form is slipping away from us. Bye, everybody.
Hey, I rested back in my chair.
That's glyph of shadow form. He's not dark enough.
Oh, he's not dark enough. All right, guys. Have a great one. We'll see you next week.
Bye.
Guys.
Bye.